This is Optometrists Building Empires, and I'm your host, Ankit Patel. Each week, we'll explore the journey of multi-practice ownership and leadership in optometry. Join us for insights and strategies from the top minds in our field. This show is sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team helps your office increase revenues, reduce costs, and reduce staffing headaches. Let's build your empire together. Today's guest is someone who's dynamic and I'm excited to speak to. He's an optometrist, entrepreneur, speaker, and consultant. He's had a passion for science since an early age, and he's completed his doctorate of optometry from The Ohio State University. His office was awarded top 10 best practices in optometry in 2019 by CooperVision. He's optometrist and owner at Vision Source at Far West and Vision Source of South Ogden. Please welcome Dr. Ian Whipple. Ian, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Super excited for our conversation tonight. This is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because I think you bring a little bit of a unique spin and perspective on growing an empire. So let's jump into that, right? So what was the most important thing that helped you grow your empire of speaking, entrepreneurship, multiple locations? What was the most important thing for you?
Yeah. So I might have to explain myself, but I would say I haven't been afraid to do weird stuff. What I mean by that, there's, in my own practices, I've really tried to innovate a lot of things, and I have gone out and done things I didn't know anyone else was doing, whether I was the first or I was just first in my area. I thought I was just looking at problems maybe from a unique perspective and doing weird stuff. One example would be, I moved all my phones and my billing staff home well before COVID. This was in the 2018 kind of time frame. I didn't know any buddies that were doing this. I'd not ever heard of that, except maybe one kind of crazy out there practice, back east or something like that. That was just a rumor coming through, right? I just thought it was maybe a little bit odd, but I wasn't afraid to take that, getting kind of weird move and see how it would work. As far as like some of the other aspects of what I do in my career, my speaking and my consulting and writing projects, kind of same thing. I think I just wasn't afraid to try something. If I fell miserably, I can always look at something different or try it again. And this is my first ever podcast. So, again, doing weird stuff or trying something a little bit new. And if it doesn't work, maybe I won't do it again, but I think it's going to be great tonight.
Yeah. Well, I think so too, because I want to tease out something I heard you say there. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost so yes, you take risk and you're doing things people won't do, but it sounds like you're taking it from almost a first principles point of view. So meaning going back to the example of taking the phones out of the office, right? We did something similar, and I know that our rationale for doing it, I think based off of our previous discussions, you questioning, why does it have to be in the office, right? Why can't it be somewhere else and people perform just as well? Does that really, can that enhance the office experience? Can that enhance the patient experience? And can it save money?
Yeah, absolutely. All the above. Yeah. So I guess I keep on trying to challenge what medicine looks like, specifically optometry, but let's face it, nobody wants to go to a doctor's office for probably any reason, unless, maybe sniffle that they know they're going to feel great in, an hour. Right. But nobody likes to go. And when you do go as a patient and you'd see, some grumpy person behind the desk, they're on the phone shouting out, social security numbers and insurance information, and they wave you off. I'll be with you in a couple of minutes. It doesn't feel good. And so my biggest rationale was actually from, for doing that particular move was, that's what I experienced as a patient in other offices, primary care and dermatology and that kind of stuff. It's like, no, there's got to be a better way. So we moved all the phones off site. I still kept my front desk person, and instead of her being a receptionist and multi-purpose amazing staff member, we designated a new title in our office, the patient coordinator. She is essentially a host that when a patient walks into the office, she'll walk around the desk, physically leave the desk, walk around and meet them in the middle of the office, greet them really warmly. Hey, so happy that you came in today. I'm Laura. How can I help you? What can we do for you today? Kind of thing. And she'll direct patients maybe to the optical team or the technicians or whoever they're here to see. She'll basically make them feel like the most important person in the world. And she can do that because she's not distracted by the phones, because those have essentially been moved. Now we don't have any inbound calls in our office right now. They're all in remote locations. Been a great move, but again, I thought, oh, it seems like it would work, but I don't know if it would. It's something that I had never talked with anybody about doing, and hadn't heard any previous experience. But I wanted to try it, and I would never go back.
What challenges did you have with it? Like, what did you run into? You were like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of technical challenges. The phone system we had didn't work the way I wanted it to.
Mm.
And at one point, I actually used some remote labor, in a virtual assistant that was actually answering our phones for us. And the phone system we had like a geofence, like perimeter around the U.S. and Canada, and anyone outside of it couldn't use it. And
Good
anyway,
music.
just
Yeah.
some technical details. We had to switch phone providers. Went with an international company out of London instead of one of the American companies. And we've never looked back. It's been great, but that was probably the biggest challenge in moving that particular opportunity offsite. I will say though, one of the most surprising, unforeseen benefits out of it was that I was able to rehire an amazing employee who had worked with us for several years, got married, moved to a different part of our state. And she happened to be looking for a job again. And maybe a year after she left us, we somehow reconnected, and she was able to rejoin us in a little bit different capacity than what she was. But she's been literally the most fantastic receptionist, and owns it, and it's been so cool. I wouldn't have thought, oh, maybe I can go rehire this gal, but it just kind of fell in our laps, and that would not have happened if I had tried to move everything in, even a separate part of our office on site. So that's probably the biggest benefit I didn't see coming, and really, I wouldn't say that the challenges were particularly difficult in that move.
So when you went from 1 to 2
Yeah.
locations, what are some of the things that you ran into that you didn't expect? What are some of the things you tried that no one else was doing? Help me understand the challenges and the things you were trying.
Yeah, going from 1 to 2 is different. Honestly, 1 to 2 practices was much more difficult for me than going from 1 to 2 children. 1 to 2
Mm.
children was actually an easier transition, but, the second location I purchased, it had some struggles. It was definitely a struggling practice, and, I guess my rookie mistake on second practice ownership was, well, let me just go in and rinse and repeat. I do the exact same thing that I did with my primary office. Um, and I guess I fairly quickly realized, hey, that's not going to work. I built my primary office. We had major growth 10 years ago, and it's in a different part of town, different demographics. I can't expect to do just the exact same thing that I did in my first office, because times are just different now. So I think that my biggest, unforeseen challenge on the second location, specifically was keeping patients, and attracting new patients that are willing to do things differently, that are willing to challenge maybe what an eye exam has always looked like for them in this, kind of older practice. And, I'd say a little bit more aging demographic, but the practice itself had been there for 40 years. And, so I come in with new ideas, new equipment, new frame lines, different kind of even ways of talking about eye care with patients. So, it wasn't the same as the first office, but it's definitely picked up and is growing quite nicely now, 2.5 years in.
I don't know if you experienced this, but we've experienced. What do you mean I have to pay a contact lens fitting fee?
Oh,
Never had to pay for that.
seriously. Well, I gotta be careful what I say, but yeah, man,
Yeah. Yes.
I've never
Yes, sir.
paid that in my life, and you think certainly they have, but then I go through the
Mhm.
records. No, actually they didn't, and there was some weird stuff
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, did that ever happen for so long? So we did actually lose several patients. I did more than several, quite a few patients, because we were
Yeah.
actually charging the correct co-pays. Interestingly enough, a lot of them have actually come back in subsequent years because they went somewhere else and they were being charged for contact lens evaluations there too, and their co-pays. And anyways, kind of, yeah, that was an interesting experience. I would have never guessed that something as simple as collecting on a contact lens evaluation and a copay, which we're required to do in our contracts,
Yeah.
would have never expected that was something that wasn't commonplace in anybody's practice, but that's indeed what I purchased into.
Yeah, it happens. I think, I know how you feel. We've
Yeah.
had that a few times too, yeah. Alright, we're back. We made a little shift in scenery, for those of you watching the video. Let's jump back in. So, we talked about how you ran into some challenges with the patients were used to a different way of, uh, practicing from the previous ownership that you had in the second location.
Yeah.
What did you do that might have been different, right? Like, you maybe you did something that what were things that went through your head that you're like, "You know what? No one else is doing this. Let me try this." Even if it didn't work, what were some of those things that came to your mind?
Ooh, yeah, that's a fantastic question. I didn't do as many new, like brand new things in the second location, but I felt like I was challenging my current employees, my current staff, my team for, 10 years in my primary location.
Mhm.
We tried all sorts of new things, such as, first we were first adopters of one of the new electronic medical record systems. And we found that actually didn't work in our practice. So that was kind of we tried it. It didn't seem to work well. We went right back to something else. Um, I've always been really happy to embrace new technologies that comes out. I'm usually not the very first person to embrace it, but I'm going to be among the first few in my area or my state. Um, so as far as technology and just maybe ways of doing things, I've always thought there's a kinder and gentler way to do eye care. And really every decision I've tried to make has been with the patient experience in mind. If I
Yeah.
hire this potential employee, how's that going to affect the patient experience? If I bring this new piece of equipment in, how's that going to look? And I'll give you another example. This was a good one we adopted very, very early. Was I wanted to have the handoff between the doctor at the end of the exam to the optician. I wanted that to happen in the exam room. Uh,
Yeah.
instead of me walking out saying, "Hey, you're Susie. This is this patient so and so, and she's going to need progresses." I wanted to have that in a more secure location where we could actually spend more time talking about the actual product. So the idea was so simple. I thought, well, do I give them cell phones? So I give them paging devices of some kind. And, it was actually much simpler than that. I put at the time I had just two exam rooms in my old office. I put two different wireless doorbells.
Routes. Yep.
Two doorbells. There was a dong ding and then a ding dong, and they had to remember which one was which, right? But the optician who was next up in the rotation, when I ring the bell, would let themselves into the exam room, and we'd have a couple of minutes to have real good discussion about how they're going to complete their visit with us. And I would always say that phrase. This is my optician. She is going to help you complete your visit with us by getting you squared away with your glasses. And these are some of the features of the glasses that are going to really improve your whatever problem, chief complaint they come in with. And I'd set that expectation that now it's time to talk with the optician. It doesn't do us any good to have an answer but not provide it to you.
Yeah.
And it was just such an amazing, just simple kind of thing that we definitely adopted very quickly. Now that we have 5 exam rooms in our office, it's harder to find doorbells that aren't overrun.
Different sounds.
They're different enough sounds.
Sure.
Every once in a smile, they'll throw some silly sound on there. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? They're just messing with our system. But
That's funny.
yeah. So yeah,
I like that a lot, and I like how, you said, like, "Hey, we give you a solution, make sure we provide it for you so you can complete your visit." That sounds I like the way that sounds, and I'm gonna back up a little step, and you tell me if I'm misinterpreting this.
yeah,
What I'm hearing is that you're starting with a core concept, like, what's best for the patient is what it sounds like is one of your main core concepts, and everything permeates from that to the point where you're like, "Well, what would this mean from how the type of person I hire for this role?" Uh, what could this mean about how I shift this person's role? How you shifted your front desk phone person to a more of a greeter and like a patient care host and make sure the patient's happy.
yeah,
Changing it to, well, we want to make sure the patient really understands the value and how we're solving the problem that they came in for, the chief complaint. So that handoff needs to happen in the chair where it makes more sense for the patient versus out in the optical when it's just people are
yeah,
thinking about a million other things, or on their phone doing other stuff. It doesn't click.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. It sounds is that would you describe it that way? Maybe I'm maybe putting words in your mouth, but is that
No.
accurate?
Yeah. How is this going to make things look kinder, gentler, and just an overall more efficient system? And really bring me everything back to the reason that brought that patient in. I don't think very many people are going to be coerced into coming into an eye exam. They come in because there's something they're concerned with, or something that's maybe not working like it used to. we want to make sure that we answer, their concerns fully, and that we allow them to follow through with the treatment plan that's going to fix that. Absolutely. You talk about staffing and what this looks like, and all the above. Every decision has to be made with that patient experience in mind. And if we're doing right by the patient, we're going to do okay for the practice and, bottom line and all the above.
And I think a lot of people talk about that. And where I see a little difference, where I've talked to some other folks that had some similar perspective, but a slightly different flair, that what you're doing is you're incorporating, you're okay with having a portion of what you do be an experiment. It's like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but this looks like it would make sense, right? Let's try it. This technology, I don't know if it's gonna work, but it seems like it's a good idea. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, let's figure out a way back out. So
So
there's some experimentation as part of the
100%.
this as well. Yeah, yeah. Which sometimes you hit home runs like, hey, we can get folks answering phones that aren't in our offices. Sometimes it's like, you know what? This EMR is not ready for prime time for us yet. So we're going to go back to the old system.
Yeah.
And obviously you have a new EMR that actually is ready for prime time. So
Right. No, that's exactly it. Some of these experiments work. We have a hypothesis. We create a design to experiment. Say, well, I think this is a way that this might work. And if it fails, we look at something different. But again, I would also say, don't be afraid to try it again. If it failed the first time, doesn't mean it's going to the second time. I tried many years ago to do block scheduling in my office. At least for myself, I'd see regular patients 4 days a week, and then nothing but scleral and specialty lens evaluations on the other. And for a time, it kind of worked, and then it didn't anymore. We forgot about it, and life went on. I brought that one back in at the start of this year. We actually have blocked out now 1 full day for each of the three of us, each of the doctors, where we don't see any comprehensive exams. And we do nothing but contact lens check, or your medical visits, your glaucoma checks, and all that kind of stuff. They're blocked as and booked as a medical day. And there's no deviation. If you have a medical day, any patient needs to be seen for follow-up of some kind. Anything non-comprehensive exam, we throw them on a Monday with me, a Wednesday with one of my associates, or a Friday with the other. And those are the days we do those things. Now, those happen to be the days that we have 2 doctors in the office. And so the other doctor, meantime, that's there is going to be seeing all the comprehensive exams with no contact lens checks and no red eyes and all that kind of stuff, because that goes to the medical, schedule, I guess, for that day. So what kind of didn't work with us with this block scheduling idea, 8 years ago, I reintroduced the concept, and we have just been crushing it since January. It's only been this year that we brought it back. Our staff's getting home on time. Our doctors are happier. We're way more efficient in how we're talking with patients, because if it's comp day, I'm talking glasses and contact lenses, and I'm not even going to try to fix the medical concern, because I need to bring them back on a day that I've got more time, or a day that I'm in that, wearing a different hat kind of position. And we've actually been doing significantly better in even gross revenue as a result. And, everybody's happy. So it's been great.
The patient only absorbs so much too, right? They're coming in for annually. They have like dry eyes, like really severe dry eyes. It's hard for them to absorb. I need new contacts, new glasses, and what is this dry eye thing? Right? You're right. Absolutely. That's actually a really interesting idea. And it sounds like it's correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like one of the core pieces to this is learning.
Yes.
So it's what I heard there is before. Were you the only doctor doing the block scheduling? You only had one doctor?
I was the only, I had other doctors, but I was the only one trying the block scheduling. I wanted to see if I could get all my scleral and specialty patients on one single day. I could just see scleral lens day, for me. And we tried it for a few weeks, and it sort of worked, but then we fizzled down. It was, I either didn't block it or book it fully, or I'm like, whatever. That person can't come in on my Wednesday, sure, for a long on Monday schedule. We deviated too much. Right. This time we're quite strict on it. And I think there's only been a few exceptions. If there's, piece of metal in the eye, they're one doctor, they're taking it out. Right. But no, it's, absolutely. It's an experiment, see how it runs, and reevaluate. And if it doesn't quite work, look at a different option.
Yeah. It sounds like you added like 3 more days of coverage and expanded what's in those medical things.
It's essentially what we've done. Yeah. We shortened. Well, so we also, at the same time, we shortened the allotted time for a comprehensive exam.
Okay.
Because now we know that we're seeing comprehensive exams with no extra little checks here and there, and that extra visual.
That's a good point. You don't have to allow for that just in case follow-ups come in or medical walk.
Exactly. Yeah, we didn't have to block off extra time for that kind of stuff, and we just were able to be more efficient and I remember everyone looked at me like, nah, I don't think this is going to work, doc. And I just yell, give me a
That's
month.
right.
Let's just see how it happens. And if it doesn't work, yeah, let's look at a different option. But I kind of think this is going to be nice. And the feedback has just been so overwhelmingly positive from everybody.
And and you get a better experience from the patient perspective because you're doing the same thing. It's
Of course.
easier to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And
That's a
I'm
really
not,
good idea.
and like you said, I'm not trying to throw in, well, yeah, you also have dry eye and macular degeneration and, your cataract lens implants kind of look a little goofy. We can rid an easy add that. You can't have all those conversations on the, on
Yeah,
only one
come
day.
back. We're gonna reinvestigate this on this other
Yeah.
day.
Uh,
Yeah,
Interesting too. We also, this is just kind of side note. We also put all of our patients that we know are going to take more time. Maybe there's some mobility issues, or we're running into cognitive function, or maybe a patient that's English second language, or is going to need an interpreter or something. We put those on those medical days too, so we can slow down and say, I'm going to need 45 minutes for this patient. And I'm not trying to add in on a 20-minute, normal schedule, right? So that's been so wonderful to do that too.
that's a really cool idea. I like that a lot. That's a really good value. Hopefully, folks are listening that see how they can incorporate in their system if it makes sense for them. Um, as far as your growth goes, uh, a lot of folks are having trouble right now, staffing, reimbursements. You talked a little bit about staffing. Tell us more about if you're having staffing problems. What are you doing about them?
Yeah.
Are you having? If you're not having staffing problems, please tell us your secret. Okay, you are. Okay, just make it. Okay.
Everybody's got staffing
Yeah.
issues right now. There's all sorts of things. It's a different world, and I can't do it the old way. Um, I might take a little bit of an unpopular approach to this. I have mentors who I trust very, very much that tell me, hey, find somebody that's going to stick with you for, 15 or 20 years. This is like the only time I say, I don't think so.
Mhm.
Mm, I would much rather hire a very, very competent, super qualified, go in places kind of person, have them stay with me 2 years or 3 years,
Mm.
and have just the top, like highest quality caliber person I can get in my office, knowing that I'm going to be replacing, fairly frequently. All it's going to take is, I don't know, a application to grad school, or,
Yeah.
whatever, that they're going to leave the office and move on to something else. That's the kind of person I want to surround myself with. And they've just been so much easier to train, and there's a different willingness and eagerness to learn than when I kind of in previous years tried to find somebody that maybe was already trained in another office and has been doing this for 20 years and that kind of stuff.
So it sounds like, you want folks who are probably going to be going to med school, doctor school. So, they're high performing already. They have a vision, they have a plan. They're going to have a more expansive career in healthcare. They tend to care more
Yes.
about their position. And honestly, I think I was reading somewhere, healthcare in general, I'm not sure about optometry, but you're good if you're getting someone for 18 months.
Yeah.
So you're like, why fight that? Right. It's what the market is saying. I can get someone for 18 months, 2 years, but I know that they care about the job because they have a future in healthcare. Right.
Yes.
Not to say that other people don't care. It's that it increases your chances of finding someone who is going to perform better when you look for those types of things.
Yes, 100%. 100%, that's what it is. And I love that. I mean, a lot of what we do is entry to intermediate level medical care in the first place. As far as the positions I'm hiring for, I've actually had way better experience with people that have had zero introduction to healthcare, but think they might
Yeah.
want to try it out. I my best employee candidates have been baristas, and they've been working in the hotel, in service sectors. They've been, I don't know, a sales consultant or whatever, a sales person in, Victoria's Secret kind of thing. I mean, there's just a different connection level that they're going to have, and they already understand customer service, maybe from a different take or a different industry, but every single one of my positions is customer service oriented above all. And this allows these employees to see if they really like medical, if that's what they're cut out for. And if not, no harm, no foul. They find something else that they're going to do with their life, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that's perfectly good strategy. You just know who your people are and what you need. Right.
Yeah,
And, I think, so I was reading another book, and one of the, it was actually a trash company. And I think this is in the book called Scaling Up. And the trash company was looking for talent and people. And like, that's a really hard job. It's really
yeah,
manual labor. You stink all day. Right. It's like, that's not a job that has really good retention or is really quote unquote career for most people.
Yeah.
And so what he did was he said, you know what, I'm gonna go to gyms and say, hey, you can get a workout all day and get training in while you're not here. So like people who are like being MMA fighters, professional boxers, people who are workout junkies or professional bodybuilders, that's
Awesome.
who he got to be his folks. And he knew they weren't gonna be there forever, but that's aligned with their interest. And so sounds like you're doing something similar. Like, hey, you want to try healthcare out? Come on. We'll be a great launching pad. If you want to stay here longer, we have opportunities, but we understand that we can be a launching pad for you.
Yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
I think that's been really nice on, for myself and, for other people, give them a try at something a little different. But this was a really cool experience. My wife was in a bookstore looking for some specialty books, had a gal that helped her find it. That was just so pleasant, like just such an amazing person. My wife gets in the car, she calls me right away. She's like, you need to hire her. Like, okay, well, go back in with one of my business cards. Let her know we're hiring, and that gal did reach out. We hired her. She was an amazing employee with us for about 5 years and then went off to grad school. But, uh, I think it's okay to always be on the lookout. Maybe not necessarily poach people, right? But it's like,
Mhm.
wow, there's amazing talent there. Figure out like, where did that kind of person come from and how can I get somebody like that? And maybe even that particular person, right? That was the only time I've ever really done that, but that worked out so well. I did want to say too, I know I mentioned I rehired one employee.
Yeah.
Actually, 4 of my employees currently worked with me at one point
Yeah.
and are back. And 3 of them are in remote roles at this
Okay.
point. They moved, transferred in, husband's military or, whatever kind of position. And you have to cast on the box, I guess, on this, but it's tricky. And I think, at least for me, I don't think the days of hiring somebody and expecting them to stay for, 10 years, 15 years plus, I think that those days are over for
Yeah.
a lot of, especially maybe younger business owners.
Yeah. It's hard, right? Not to say that audience doesn't exist, but it's a lot smaller pool
Yeah.
because it's a job market, right? I think it's smart to try to find a unique strategy that's a win-win for everyone. And it sounds like you're kind of doing that with your strategy.
Yeah.
Um, what are you excited about for the future of your practices and maybe even optometry too? I'll leave that open-ended to see where you want to take
Sure.
that.
Yeah. No, I'd love to see where we can take this. I'm excited about a lot of things. So I graduated from Ohio State in 2011. Uh, you know, 14 years now, almost at this point that I've been out. The majority of equipment and a lot of the techniques I'm using right now in my office weren't even invented when I was a student. And I can't wait to see what other designs, what other developments and procedures. And, I can't wait to see where this all goes. It's a really exciting time for optometry. I hope that we are able to continue to command the respect from our peers and maybe even some of, those that maybe don't understand us, lawmakers and other people. I hope we will all go fight for the patient experience within eye care. I think optometry is going places, and I think optometrists need to be the ones that drive those changes. I don't want outside entities, insurance companies, lawmakers, even industry to some extent tell me what the next phase of eye care looks like. I want to be out there leading that charge and really bringing it always back to the patient experience. Not good for the patient. It's not good in general.
Yeah, that's one of our mottos too. It's gotta be good for the patient too.
Oh man. Oh,
And you're in Utah, which I think has a pretty expansive scope for optometrists, right?
we in a pretty liberal scope right now. It's
Yeah.
it's nice.
That's
There are
good.
things that we can and can't do for sure. But yeah, I'm not as limited as I would be in other states.
That's nice. And as far as, here's another question. This is more of just a what if question, just to see how you think about business.
Yeah, yeah.
If I said, "Hey, a greenfield, unlimited resources, whatever you need," how would you quadruple your practice size? Go from 2 to 8.
Yeah, man. I know what I do.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
So money's not an issue and the technology I want exists.
So describe, one, yeah, let's assume you get financing, whatever you need, you can justify from the bank or investors. And then, yeah, describe the technology you want.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's some really cool things. I know a lot of people are doing RFID technology with
Sure.
like frame board management, inventory, and that kind of stuff. I've seen some RFIDs that you put this little tag on a is on a boot that I saw. He picked up the boot and there's a screen right behind it that says, hey, this is a Chelsea boot made by so-and-so. And it comes in 4 other colors and it shows it right then and there. You pick
That's
it up,
cool.
there's your thing. I would love to see, and I think we're getting closer, these digital optician devices that are actually, we've been using these for a lot of years with good success in our office, but they make the measurements accurately. I want to see a virtual try-on that actually works every time, but there would have to be AI assistance in helping you narrow it down. So with virtual try-on kind of stuff, you would have, the entire world's inventory right there, right? I guess what I would envision would be an optical that has multiple kiosks that I will have staff servicing these. An optician walks over with the patient. We look at the kiosk. We answer a couple of questions about lifestyle and preferred colors, and maybe between my optician and a AI assistant, we generate here's what we think could be 5 really fantastic frames for you. They do a virtual try on, but then, patient does kind of like number 1 and number 7 or whatever. My staff then leaves, goes into another storage area where we have literally every single frame that's in our system, like already in stock. We bring it out and they can physically try it on, right?
That's cool.
Now, those frames can be organized in a really smart, taking up very little space kind of way. The optical takes up so much expensive real estate. The displays are beautiful, and we can't be super efficient in displaying, frames and it's frankly overwhelming to have, more than 1,000 frames in an office, of really any size, right? So what if we are able to narrow these things down a little bit more, but we have a virtual try-on and then the real live try-on right then and there. If patient doesn't like something about it, this AI will then kick out, well, here's another several things that, we're finding maybe that frame was too heavy. Here's a couple other frames that we happen to have in stock today that are a little bit lighter weight, and they might be a little smaller in size or whatever. That would be my dream of a modern optical experience. I would love to see that actually happen. I actually reached out at one point several years ago to look into this RFID kind of thing where you pick up the frame and then video the displays right afterwards. It was just cost prohibitive. I can't, but how cool would that be though? You take up then this way, you'd have a much smaller optical. You really only need, how many kiosks you think you're going to need or whatever. You're utilizing technology. You still have that personal touch from the actual optician. You don't need to make this storage room fancy. You're not building out so much. Way more inventory right then and there. You dedicate the rest of your space to eye exam lanes, and you can put people through much faster. They can check out much faster. That'd be my optical of the future.
So it's almost like you wouldn't necessarily. So it sounds like you wouldn't necessarily want 8 locations. You could actually just get a lot more out of your existing
Or
location.
you do 8 locations, and you have the exams in one location, and you have these kiosks kind of things with an optician. Maybe you have a little 100 square foot optical in 8 locations in your city, and I don't know how you get frames. Still haven't thought that through, but I don't think you're going to need multiple location, large, multi-million-dollar practices that cost so much. Right? It was ridiculous how much I spent on my build outs, and I would love to see another way that we could do this, be as successful, but not have to lay out so much of an investment in the first place.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I know one thing that AI might have leapfrogged the RFID technology. So now I think you just use visual systems. So that actually may not be. Someone could probably create that pretty quickly.
No,
with a little bit of,
I'm probably giving all sorts of good ideas. We should go in on this together, right?
Yeah, there you go.
If anyone, reach out to me if you've got ideas. I'd love to be your consultant and see how this works.
Yeah. I know we're developing a lot of stuff with AI right now in our offices, and that's one of the projects. It's a little bit more expensive because it's camera systems and how to make sure it actually reads properly, but it's not far-fetched. It just has some capital costs associated with it, like RFID tags, but it's a little bit, you could do inventory all 24/7.
Exactly. It's cost. There you go. It's a pretty walk out. Right.
Yeah.
No, I think there's some cool things. I mean, I don't understand all the technology behind it. I think I've got a decent, several weird ideas. Again, do weird stuff. Don't be afraid of it. But
I love it. Actually, it's great to see how you think about these challenges. It's really interesting.
no one's out there. I don't know if it'd work, but it'd be a great experiment.
Yeah, and yeah, that would be, if you ever do it, let me know. I want to come see it.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
cool.
so let's talk a little bit about what makes you tick. Like, can you, what I like to ask people is, give me a story of what made you you. Could have been, second grade on the playground, something happened that was cool or unique, or it could have been, last year on a trip somewhere, right? And that was this epiphany you had. Give me a couple, one or two moments, if you wouldn't mind sharing with everyone,
Yeah.
moments that make Ian Ian.
Oh, man, that's a great question. I feel like it's look like a job interview or like a dating pro right here or something, right? Um, no, I mean, I think for me, and I think I'll try to continue to tie it in, to work a little bit. I want everything I do to be a lifestyle generator, for
Mhm.
me. I've got a ton of interest again, trying weird stuff, right? I don't know, maybe I can't like settle down and stick to one thing my whole life. I love to experiment with new things in my personal life as well.
Okay.
Well, I'll pick up fly fishing for a couple of years, learn how to do it. I get really gung ho about it, and I love it. Now I can do that when I want to. And then, more recently, it's been running. Ran a marathon last year for the first time.
Wow.
That's been fantastic. I was in a rock climbing phase for a long time, but you know, ultimately, my optometry empire has created enough lifestyle generating potential here that I don't have to worry about cost of some of these things.
Yeah.
And I think what gets me going and what makes me me, I think, well, maybe and I'll share this one's kind of a personal one, but I think traveling and seeing new ways of living are a massive part of it. So when I was a young man, I was 19, from age 19 to 21, I actually lived in Italy for a couple of years.
Okay.
Learned the language, learned how to cook and had an amazing experience kind of growing up a little bit, becoming a, young adult in a foreign
Yeah.
country. And that was a fantastic experience for me. I would love if my kids are able to do something similar to that. Maybe, hopefully not that exact thing, but that we'd be able to show that there's other ways of looking at the world, other ways of believing things, and it's just been so beautiful for me. So that's it. What gets me going. I would like to see what else is out there, explore it, see how I can learn from every single connection that I have. And that's, I think, what we're pursuing. I've got two children; they're a little bit younger, but we've been taking them now on our international trips, and they're falling in love with these places too. And it's been so fun to see that. So that's kind of a rambling answer, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's really what gets me going.
My So I'm gonna, and they're not sponsoring the show or anything, but we did this program last year called Boundless Life.
Yeah,
It was 1 month we lived in Portugal, and the kids went to school there, and there were a bunch of, it was basically people from around the world.
yeah,
Most people from the US. We went in the July cohort. 4 weeks there. It was amazing. We were immersed in the culture and everything, and, it's Western Europe, but it's still different than the US
well,
and other cultures, and it was they had a great time. We had a great time. It was a great
yeah.
family bonding trip.
I want to
So,
do that so bad.
yeah.
Provide these kids with a little bit more eye opening. I think it's easy to just sit at home and watch life go by. Like I want to get out there and do it. I in younger adulthood, I was afraid to do a lot of that kind of stuff, and
Mm.
I've embraced it now. It's been incredibly rich and rewarding, and so fun to do. In fact, we're going in 2 weeks. We're taking the kids to Morocco, so
Oh, wow.
that's going to be an amazing one.
Marrakech?
Marrakesh and Paris, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
I I wanted to go. I wanna hear how it's when you get back, I wanna hear about it. So,
Man, yeah,
uh,
so exciting. Anyway, yeah, getting kind of rambling here, but that's me.
that sounds like fun.
Yeah,
And so, tying it back to your original theme, you said that you're not afraid to try things people may think is a little odd or weird, but it's almost like, hey, you like learning. You like being exposed to new things and curious. You're like, your core value seems curiosity is like it. Yeah,
yeah, it's major core value, curiosity.
that's what
Um, yeah, and realizing that there's just so much out there. I mean, yeah, not even touched the tip of an iceberg of what else can be there. I don't know. I love learning. I love trying new things. I like seeing success, but also failure sometimes because
yeah.
that motivates me as well.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
cool. So let not and you kinda touched on it a little bit, but I want you to, take this framing. Let's say let's time travel a little bit, go back about 4 days after you graduated OD
yeah,
school.
Yeah.
Well, what advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, keep doing it, keep doing it. You just graduated from optometry school now. I was worried I wasn't gonna pass that 3rd round of the boards in that moment. Yeah. I'd taken the test and it was, anyway, it's fine. Everything was fine, but I guess I had some expectations that were much lower than what has actually happened. I didn't know what to expect. I thought, okay, if I, make a certain amount a year and I feel like I'm helping patients, that will be satisfying. And, blew those numbers out of the water very quickly and like, oh, whoa, cool. Wait a minute.
Right?
What? I'm just gonna do here, right? And I don't say any of that to, brag about things or anything, but it's been really, really cool to see, oh, what else? What else? I think it is really, it's really been an amazing career so far. I think optometry's been very good to me. I can't wait to see where this all leads, and got some ideas, but we'll see.
I feel like we could do a whole session just on technology, AI, just brainstorming different
Yeah.
things. It'd be fun. I don't usually, it's unique seeing a doctor that also has curiosity in those fields outside of the doctor space. So really cool perspective.
Yeah.
So Ian, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Sure. Yeah, I think probably the easiest way would be via email. I always leave my email address on like every article that I write or every speaking engagement when I finish things up. It's the letter I, Whipple@gmail.com. Okay. Not UIE, IWHIPPLE @gmail.com. Maybe you can share that somehow in the notes.
We'll put in the show notes along with
great. Yeah. That'd be the easiest way to reach out. I try to respond to my fans. No, I'm kidding. They're fans. I'm being weird, but no, I mean, I'd love to hear if anybody, everyone wants to reach out and tell me how that idea is, that's a tripod doc. It's not going to work, but, no, I'd love to hear who else is thinking something similar, and, I don't know, see what everyone else's ideas are. I like to dream big. I'd love to see where things go. Again, my biggest thing though is optometry needs to be directed by optometrists. And I would hope that anybody listening has maybe a little bit of spark of like, hey, wait a minute, let's trigger that curiosity and see what else we can, develop or invent or persuade or anything else. Let's see where we can take optometry. I think it'd be really neat.
Yeah, I love that sentiment. On that note, thank you, Dr. Ian Whipple, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this is fun. And thank you, audience, for listening. If you learned something, laughed, or just found something really curious, please subscribe to the video or the podcast and share it with your friends and family. And thank you again, Dr. Whipple, for joining us. This has been another exciting episode of Optometrists Building Empires. We'll see you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Optometrists Building Empires. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, visit buildingempires.live. This show is proudly sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team was born out of staffing challenges my wife and I faced together, managing multiple optometry locations. We refined our approach at Classic Vision Care and now offer our expertise to others. If you're experiencing challenges with staffing and you'd like to set up a discovery call, we'd be happy to help you and connect you with the right resources. We'll see you next time.